Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back to the new Build Your Stash and Craft week 85. Today we're going to make a stamp assistant. So I don't know what they really call them. I had one of these a long time ago, got it at a garage sale or something, and they really do come in handy. So I'm going to show you how to make your own, and they're just easy to make and really useful. So the first thing we're going to do is just these frames have a little bit of a plastic coating on them. So we want to take that off so that our sponges will stick to our plastic. We're going to remove the inside. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make something that we can put our stamps on, and then we can go ahead and put our stamps onto our project. But what it's going to do is it's going to hold them up so that we don't press them down until we're ready to press them down, and get them aligned where we want them. So it's really simple to do. We're just going to take one of our sponges. Now, you want this really soft type of sponge. You don't want the really heavy, thick kind. And you don't want this on here because that won't squish when you're pressing down your stamps. So, but they do fairly easy. If you take your time, they will separate right where they were glued together. So you don't want to take big chunks out of your sponge and make it kind of uneven. So there we go. The two are separated, and keep that. You can use it for other things. You can use it to rough up paper and that type of thing also. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a sponge in each of the four corners. So we're going to cut this down because it doesn't need to be this big. And so we'll just cut a couple of pieces approximately the same size. They don't have to be anything specific. And then we're just going to cut down the middle so that we have 4 pieces. So now we have 4 pieces of sponge, and we're going to put those in the 4 corners. We're going to use our gel super glue from our stash, and we're just going to put a little bit of super glue onto the sponge and just spread it around so that you have some all across the whole bottom. And then just put that right in the corner, and we're going to do that with all four of the corners. So the really nice thing about this is, especially when you're lining up words and that type of thing, it comes in really handy. And or even just trying to see where you want to place something before you actually place it down, because these sponges are now going to hold your stamps above your project. So you can see through, because it's clear. You can see through your frame and see where you're placing it so that you know you're placing it where you want to, just like a clear block. But you will also have the ability to not press it down right away. Alrighty, so I'm just going to line those 4 corners up. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to give it a good press. And there we go. Now I'm going to let it sit like that. Make sure it's all lined up nicely. Okay, I'm just going to let that sit, and I'm going to let it dry. Now I'm going to let it dry overnight. You want it to dry well, because you don't want to loosen up your glue. But I have one that's already done. So I have one here that I've already finished, and I'm just going to take this one and I'm going to set it aside. There. Set it aside so that it can dry. Okay, so now that we have our stamp platform, the stamps that I picked up were, I picked up some bird stamps, and I picked up some alphabet stamps. And I wanted to show you, and this does work very nicely for that also. I wanted to show you, when you have the alphabet stamps, and there's only one of each, how you go ahead and fix that when you want to make a word. So we are going to just take a piece of paper here, and maybe we'll fold it in half to make it into a little note card. There we go. And then we're going to put outstanding on our little note card. So there's a few things that you need to remember. When you're placing your letters down, they need to go, your word needs to be spelled backwards, and your letters need to be backwards. Now, most of them, that's not a hard thing to do, but some of them, like the N, you could put it, well, that even still wouldn't be backwards. But some of them you could put to where they're not backwards. So you want to make sure everything is backwards. Now, outstanding, O-U-T-S-T. We're missing a T. We only have one. So we're going to leave that one there for now, but we're going to leave the gap to put a T. Okay. A-N, which we've already got an N here, D-I-N-G. So we're going to leave these two spaces, and I'm going to actually move that A over just a little bit. Okay, and I drew a line with a permanent marker right across my stamp platform so that I had a straight line to line things up with. And so you don't have to do that, but that is a nice thing to have. Sometimes you might even want to put one right across the middle here so that you will know where your center point is if you wanted to put something in the center. But it really doesn't matter because you're going to put it wherever you want on what you're stamping. So, but to have a line to line up words, that's kind of a nice thing to have. So we're just going to take our ink pad, and we're going to take the ink pad to the words. So we're just going to tap that on there until they're all covered. And then we're going to line it up. And we're going to put it, let's put it at the bottom. Now, when you look at it, you can look at it and see that everything is in the correct order. You don't want your ink to dry, so you don't want to leave it there too long. But we're going to press that down. Give it a second for your ink to soak into your paper. A lot of times if you have a bad stamp, it's not because you didn't have it inked well or the stamp didn't hit everywhere. It's because you put it down and pulled it right back up really fast, and so you just didn't get a good impression. You didn't get all of the ink off. So it's not about how hard you press it. It's just about leaving it there for a second. So here's what we have so far. Now we want to fix it. So what we're going to do is we're now going to turn this back over. O-U-T-S-T. So I'm going to put this T here, right next to my S before I take anything even off. Going to put that T right there, and A-N. I'm going to put the N right there. And now I'm going to move that D out of my way. See, now I've got my line, so that's a good thing to have my line. Press that one down there. The A's kind of in my way, so I'm going to take that out of my way and put this next to the S because I know that's where it needs to be. So I want to line it right up. I'm kind of all fingers today, but line that right up next to my S. Make sure that they're nice and straight. Give them a press. And I'm going to take the other letters off. I'm going to put them on my packaging so that they'll stick there and not get lost. Okay, so those should be in the right place. And now, after we put the ink on them and turn them over, we can line them up. We can even press them down just a little bit. So the nice thing is, because this holds them up, you can always hold this and try and line it up and get it right where you want it. But then when you start to go down without having, without having something to like make sure that they're sitting in the same spot, you may move it a little bit. This way, once you get it right where you want it, and like I said, you can kind of press this down a little bit because when you let that up, this whole thing is not moving. Whereas if you're holding it in your hands, and you like line it up and say, yep, that's going to be it. And then you're like trying to get your fingers off from underneath there. And because it doesn't have anything solid to be sitting on, it moves. So that looks like that would be good. But what we're going to ink this up now. The other thing is it also kind of keeps, if you get some ink around where you don't want them. Now again, we're going to line this up where we think it needs to be. Oh yeah, line the letters up out of the that we already have stamped with our line. Kind of look at whether the two letters that we have on there were kind of in line. They might be a little bit high, but we're just going to put those there, hold them for just a second, and then let go. And there we go. So now we have the whole word. And that's how you do a word when you don't have all the right letters. Just put them on there, and then remember to put these letters on before you take all of the other letters off. And it would be good to have something, because these are a little bit hard to slide in and out of this plastic file folder, to have something that you can put them in, an envelope or something like that, that you can slide this whole acetate into, so that when you put them back, if they fall off of the acetate or anything like that, they're going to fall off into the envelope. So, and then I do like to try and put them back when I'm done using them, so that when I go to use them again, everything is where it's supposed to be. Because if I don't put it back right away, I won't put it back later. I'll get busy and I'll walk away, and then later on when I come back. Now, I also do sometimes, if I think that the clear on the edge of my stamps is holding my letters too far apart, then I'll just take that. They come all hooked together, so you're going to cut them between the letters. But if I think that this B can't get close enough to where I want it, I can trim that back just a little bit, so that there's less of a space. And what I try and do is I trim it back so that pretty much this space here is the same. I'm going to trim that the same on all of my letters. So that's about 1/8 of an inch on each side, so that when I do line them up, they're all still spaced approximately the same all the way across the board. And you can cut it real close to the letters. You could not cut it at all, or just kind of try and cut them all to the same. And if you don't have an envelope to put them in right away, a lot of times I will, because they're hard to get back in here, especially once you start using them, they're a little bit loose on there. It's easier to tuck them in for me, to tuck them in this way. So let's go ahead and use our stamp platform again. And let's put a bird or two on here. What shall we put? Let's use this one right here. He's on a branch. Whoop. And you put the bird on the side with the sponges. You put your stamps on this side. And I'm just going to do them, but you could do him with your colored inks or whatever you decided you wanted to use. And like I said, because these hold it up and the stamp holds it up, and this is nice and hard and flat, if you get your ink around there, it doesn't get on your paper. It's very hard to get on your paper, I should say. If you put something underneath that's going to press that card up, you know, then it possibly might press it up far enough to get that ink. But otherwise, and I'm not pressing hard, I'm just giving it a second because this is very detailed. So I want to make sure that detail's there. Now, it also makes it so that if you have to try and line it back up, it makes it a little easier. But trying to line up a stamp is not the easiest thing to do. So even if you have this platform, now I can see there's still a lot of ink right here. So I'm going to actually push that back down, and I'm going to press hard a little bit right there so that hopefully that got that ink off. Yeah, because that ink was stuck still to my stamp. And so there we go. But there's a leaf in here too, so let's put the leaf on the branch. Oh, I put that backwards. So, take it off of there, turn it around. I'm going to press it again with my ink pad to press it to my plastic because I don't want to touch it because I still had ink on it. But that way, and let's just go ahead and put one there. And I'm letting it up a little faster. I'm wondering if I can get a second stamp. I don't know if I can or not, but we'll see. A little bit, because now I can use my watercolor pencils and my brush, and I can go ahead and I can paint this in. And you can use your corner rounder to round the corners. I like to do that. Let's use the big one so it's really noticeable. I like to do it especially on little note cards because it's really cute when you open them up. Looks cute this way. And then when you open it up, you have the little swoops in the middle also, which I really like the way that that looks. So this would be really cute to go ahead and paint it in, and then maybe put just a little color around the edges. And you have a really quick and cute little note card to give to someone. So again, don't forget to put your stamps back so that you don't lose them. And if your ink is permanent ink, which I do believe Memento is supposed to be permanent ink, I'm gonna just grab a paper towel and use some hand sanitizer. Rubbing alcohol will help get, whoa, that was way too much. Rubbing alcohol will help get permanent ink off of something that you have permanent ink on. Now, don't put on anything that the alcohol would ruin, like wood or anything like that. But you can just take that, and the rubbing alcohol in hand sanitizer will help remove that. Now, I also, because I used a permanent ink pad to go across here, it's taking my line away also. So I would have to put my line back next time. It would be smarter for me to put my line across the back side, because then I won't be cleaning the back side. I'll mostly always only be cleaning the front side where I got the ink. There's some ink here that I had got on there before, and because I did not clean it off or didn't clean it off very well, it's very stuck there. But I don't want to scratch my ink pad because I want to make sure that it's still nice and smooth for clinging to my stamps. But there we go. That took care of most of that extra, at least all the extra we put on there today. So that is just a really nice way to make yourself a stamp pad so that you can line things up, get them where you want them, decide if you like it or not. Before you decide, yep, I like it, give it a press, and there you go. You have your stamping on there. And especially when you're trying to do something like words where you have to do this, it works really nice to be able to line it up and then press it down without trying to just hover and then push it down and, you know, have a problem that way. So that was a simple one for today, but I think a very useful tool. So I just wanted to make sure that you could make one of those if you wanted to. I was going to show you last week's stamps because they hadn't dried, but the one that I really thought was cute with the leaf, and I thought that this would make a cute stem, and the one that I cut out kind of like that, I decided to put a swirl with a pen. Here it is. I went ahead and put the swirl on there. And this one I used a pen that does not have ink in it, so it's a little hard for you to see. But But that way I know the ink wouldn't come from here and get onto my project. But I just went ahead and did the swirl, so that left me with the white there. And again, if you want to do the doodle stamps, you would just leave it, you could leave it plain so that you could doodle inside this shape. But I really decided I really wanted to do that because I like that type of flower. I think they're cute. And so the little leaf that I made, and these are the little zigzags that I had done here. And again, just cut them out, I put a piece of the masking tape on there, just the way that we did all the rest. And then, of course, it was wider than this. So then I just fold the handle down and turn it over like this so you can see, and just cut off both sides. And then when you pick your handle back up again, it still has a handle. It still works. It makes it easy so that you can stamp it onto your ink pad without holding it like this and getting ink all over your fingers. So, but that's what I used. I used this one, and there was another one also that I used to make the different grasses, and I used a couple different colors. So that was our stamps from last week that we made. So I just thought I would show you how that turned out, because a lot of times people will ask, what did you do with that, or how did that turn out after it dried? So, I just wanted to show you that. For next week, we are going to need a styrofoam Christmas tree from the Dollar Tree. And if you can get some styrofoam balls, I did not get these at the Dollar Tree. I'm hoping that they have styrofoam balls at the Dollar Tree. It doesn't matter what they are. These are a couple of sizes that I had, and I had one in the middle. You don't want anything bigger than this. This is plenty big enough. And the size between the two really is almost the perfect size. But this is all that I have left because I used my other ones. But we're going to need these and some of our fabrics from our rug. And that is what we are. And if you weren't able to get the rug and you don't have those fabrics, we just need some fabrics, some Christmas color fabrics. Or actually, they don't even have to be Christmas colors, just some colors, like maybe 5 or 6 different pieces in the same color shades. So like pinks and reds, or, like green and yellow or something, colors that go together nicely. So that's what we're going to need for next week. So we'll pick up one of these and we'll pick up some balls. So if they have them. So we'll say that is $2.50. And do we need anything else? We'll need some of our tacky glue and our knife, our X-Acto knife. And I think that's about it. Some toothpicks. We'll need some toothpicks. So let's buy some toothpicks if we haven't already bought them. I don't know. I'll have to look in my stash to see. But if you don't have any toothpicks, pick up those too, and I'll take $3.75 off of our list. So thank you very much for stopping by. I think that these work really nicely. And don't like oh, I guess that light's coming from a different place. Yeah, so I think that they work great, and I use them quite often. I do have a larger one that's like 8 by 10, made out of an 8 by 10 frame, so you can do that also. You can make it out of, like I said, I had bought the smaller one because I thought that was the size I did my sample out of, and it wasn't. My sample was the 5 by 7. But when I got to looking at this and thinking about by the time that I put the sponges on the 4 corners, it doesn't leave much room in the middle to put your stamps. So this one is a little bit of a better size because you can put a pretty large stamp on there to use versus, like this size. So I think that this size is really your best bet. And then, you may want a larger one if you're making big cards, if you want to lay everything out all at once. Because that's another thing that you can do is lay the whole all your stamps and everything out where you want them, and then stamp it at one time if that's the type of stamps that you have. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.